paid cash for lane 13. What the pins confessed after midnight. I didn't pay cash for lane 13 because I like bowling. I paid because pins are honest in a way people keep trying not to be. You wind up, you send what you've got, and whatever's still standing tells on you. Our alley is the stubborn kind with a sun-faded sign and a bar that never pretended to be a restaurant. The carpet is louder than gossip. The ceiling tiles know what they've seen. If you help the manager reset a foul sensor on league night without giving him a speech about process, he'll remember. I had, so when I called at 11:30, Cal cleared me a lane between a church group's fundraiser and the graveyard shift oilfield crew. You get 13 till 2, he said. Cash only. And no trials after 2. He said it the way men say rules when they remember why they were invented. At 11:44 p.m., my phone delivered the sentence my marriage could type in its sleep. Loadout ran late. Quick debrief turned into a drink. Might crash at the office. Don't wait up. Mara isn't a liar. She arranges the night into shapes the morning can forgive. She manages volunteers and donors and lightning with the same calm mouth. For a year we've been excellent at mercy and bad at appetite. Then came Aris. The operations lead. Every story like this gets assigned whether it wants one or not. He's the man with gaffer in his tote and posture that convinces rooms they can survive themselves. He stands exactly one respectful step from married women, which, in good light, makes the city safer, and at 1 a.m. makes my neck vote. I staked out lane 13 with a pitcher of water, a stack of mismatched house balls, and the kind of righteous patience only bad lighting can teach. The oil pattern shone like a secret doing its best to be polite. On the display above the lane, the last party had left a name that wasn't theirs, which felt like a useful metaphor even before I decided to be petty and erase it. They came in at 12:06, laughter already tired, the kind of laughter people use when they want to file the night under competent. Mara first, hair pinned in the shape competence requires, blouse that had seen a day and refused to complain. Aris behind her, sleeves shoved, toed at his hip, a man whose eyes are trained on exits like exits are a dialect. He saw me first. Men who carry after midnight learn the silhouette of a husband across beer signs without needing narration. He lifted 2 fingers, the maritime piece of landlocked men, and stopped one respectful step from the approach. Lane 13, Mara said, half grin, half diagnosis. That's either very you or very superstitious. It's the only aisle in this city where lying feels like exercise, I said. Say it. In an elevator, she said, because apparently fate is lazy and keeps reissuing its worst scripts. 2 weeks ago, between floors and nouns, I kissed him, quick, mint, rehearsal. He stepped back. He said my name like a lock. I hated him for being the adult. I hated me for wanting him to be. Do you want me to hit him? I asked, and heard how hope and anger sound identical when they're hunting for the stage. I want you to choose me, she said, not rescue appetite. Aris looked at the lane numbers like they might absolve him. Need me? He asked her, not me. I need you exactly there, she said, pointing to the little triangle of carpet between the scoring console and the bench, a geography of qualified permission. If I want less distance, I'll use your name. He obeyed in the way good men do, when they intend to keep being allowed near other people's disasters, without auditioning for one. I set a 16-pounder in Mara's hands because I trust her wrists more than I trust doctrine. She rocked once on the balls of her feet, sighted down oil and wood like a woman who has persuaded more stubborn materials. She stepped, swung, released. The ball kissed the right edge of the headpin and slashed the rack into a decent, compromised collapse. A 7 stood breathing hard about its choices. Your turn, she said. I threw something cocky and honest. It drifted high and punished me politely. I spared because pride can be survived in small doses. She watched the overhead with the same face she uses on budgets, skeptical, forgiving, specific. "Invite me when you're interesting," I said, the sentence I'd written for nights exactly like this. "Not only when you're frightened, you'll be easier to love in other lighting." "I'm inviting you," she said, stepping into my space until the hum of the pinsetter felt like proof. "Now." I put my hand at the back of her neck and pressed my thumb into the notch I've kept since the apartment where the fridge hummed like compromise. She closed her eyes like a vote. I kissed her. Not apology. Jurisdiction. She answered like a woman who'd made a room behave all day and wanted her mouth to belong to something she chose. My other hand slid along her ribs to her waist until the elastic tapped my wrist and I stopped. Not because appetite was shy, but because I like who I am in daylight and I keep a ledger. She took my lower lip between her teeth, brief and brave, and laughed the soft laugh that has ferried me across the kind of nights you don't put in a grant report. "Do you still want to hit him?" she asked without looking at Aris. "I want to thank him for stepping back," I said, "and I want to owe him nothing else." "That's a budget," she said. "I can live in it." The league banner above us rattled because the HVAC was writing its own gospel. We played the way competent people confess, rack by rack, reveal by reveal. She told me the truth I didn't earn and she didn't owe. The kiss had been curiosity dressed as courage. The stopping was the only part she liked in daylight. Tonight's almost felt like a door practicing her name. I told her about the motel where I sat in the lot with a key I never used, trying to decide if I wanted a story more than a life, and laughed myself home, because even my worst ideas prefer me when I'm not acting. Aris cleared his throat in the polite key. "Loadin' at 9, he said, still looking at the lane. "The van wants 4 backs and 0 speeches." He didn't flinch or perform. He just made himself into a respectful step back, which is the secret cult that keeps venues running and marriages from becoming press releases. We bowled another frame. I left a 10 that refused to be persuaded. Mara lined up with her shoulders squared to the ghost at the far end and slid the spare across the oil with a surgeon's arrogance. The ball clipped the corner like fate apologizing for a previous decision. She lifted her hands like a woman whose hobby is surviving. "Do something foolish," she said, "but survivable." I flipped my ball returns hood and took a Sharpie from my pocket. On my own forearm in small block letters, I wrote the sentence I wanted to remember even when my mouth forgot how to behave. "Choose before the elevator does." She read it, grinned like a thief, and wrote on her wrist, "Appetite, not theater." The ink looked like a commitment that wouldn't embarrass us in daylight. I kissed the spot of skin below her palm to dry it, and the night remembered I was a body before I was a plan. We kept our clothes and our lives. We made heat that could walk back into a lobby without borrowing forgiveness on credit. The alley speakers fed us a playlist from somebody's cousin's phone, half promises, half instructional dance, and the pins kept answering our questions by either falling or stubbornly not. At 1, Cal dimmed the neons above the counter. The Oldfield crew shuffled out smelling like steel and bad decisions they would own without applause. The church group sang a verse they knew by heart and left the building as if God rented by the hour. We stayed. Lane 13 pretended not to notice. The ball track hummed like a throat clearing after telling a secret too far from the microphone. "Tell me the worst thing you almost did," Mara said, cradling a 12-pounder like a letter she wasn't going to mail. "I almost weaponized proof," I said. "Screenshots, timestamps. I almost tried to win instead of love. I almost made the elevator the villain so I could stay interesting to myself." Thank you for not turning it into a trial, she said, voice precise. No trials after two. I laughed, and the sound did the decent thing and didn't echo. She stepped into me again, this time slower, and I put my mouth at the angle of her jaw where she keeps her better verbs. She made a sound I might live on for a month. We did not give the security cameras a morality lesson. We gave them two people who knew how to stop. Aris sat on the plastic bench like a man auditioning for scenery. He looked at his hands, at the scuffed toes of his boots, at the lane numbers above us as if they were giving him an alibi he didn't deserve. If I am in the way, he said finally, say so, and I'll be a hallway. You're a hallway, I said. At 9, you're a van. He nodded once and let the carpet take his weight. Good men know when to let a room belong to the people who are paying for it, and tonight, for once, the currency wasn't cash. We finished the game on a spare and a strike that didn't need luck to pass. Mara looked at the score and snorted at the idea that numbers know anything about mercy. I shut down the console, wiped the returns like a man who has tried to earn his own keys, and handed Cal the folded bills the alley prefers to the fuss of plastic. Outside, the night had chosen a temperature. The parking lot light stuttered and then decided to cooperate. We stood by her car and practiced saying tomorrow in a way that didn't accuse the future of anything. She touched my wrist with 2 fingers, daylight legal, and I remembered liking being married, not just being good at it. At 9, the community center smelled like lemon spelling competence. Aris stacked tables in a rhythm gravity respects. I carried the other end and let daylight assign me to my better self. Mara moved through the room with a clipboard and a mouth volunteers obey without punishing themselves. When she passed me, she tapped my inked forearm, and the morning picked a side without bureaucracy. On break, I set a coffee by Aris's elbow. Thank you, I said, for being the adult in the elevator. Thank you, he said, for renting a room where the floor doesn't lie. He didn't add anything sentimental. Decency is a language men like him prefer in declarative sentences. We loaded the van without speeches. Tape squealed. A cable sprang out of someone's hands and then apologized. Gravity agreed to be negotiated for the length of a weekend. We never told anyone about lane 13. We didn't need to. We tied a retired house lace around the fridge handle under the magnet shaped like the ridiculous boat we bought one summer we didn't ruin. Sometimes when the house auditions for courtroom, we drive back to the alley and feed a lane 3 frames each. She takes the spares, I take the strikes. We both take the gutter balls because somebody has to love what we're bad at. Sometimes she texts come and means stand beside me while I bend a room into competence and beauty. Sometimes I text come and mean watch me be a body before I become a plan. Sometimes we invite a friend who has mistaken theater for appetite and let the pins tell them what's still standing and what they can knock down if they throw something true. We didn't stop admiring other people's competence. We did stop confusing it with permission. Heat is a temperature, not a verdict. Pins are witnesses that keep count without gossip. We eat before we try to win. We sleep when the clock loses its manners. We put our hands on each other in daylight like the sun still issues licenses. And when the gossip part of the city asks whether we have anything to add, we hand it a ball and point at lane 13. Send what you've got. Let what's still standing tell on you. No trials after 2. And if you must write anything on your skin to remember, make it short enough to outlast a wash and honest enough to deserve the next morning.